Welcome back everyone, Neferentium here, and today I'm going to go through one of my new modes that I just posted a video of. It's Attack on Titan. So for Attack on Titan, I've set it up so there are 6 attackers and 3 titans. The basic settings, you go to the lobby, so everything changes after the game, max spectators because it is a smaller game type. You can see on the right over here, so I have set it up for 2 different types of modes, just because always doing elimination gets kind of boring, and if you get killed like right away due to some unforeseen or unfortunate circumstance, it can be kind of sad just watching everyone else play while you are stuck doing absolutely nothing the entire time. So we have Assault, where the capture speed modifier has been increased by 300%, and the other thing I've done to both of these modes is that your hero is random. So there's a good reason for this. The main reason... Oh, I do have Escort as well, but it hasn't come up, so I'm not going to talk about it today. The reason it's a random hero is due to the heroes that I have enabled. So for the Titans, I have Doomfist, Orisa, and Reinhardt. So for Doomfist, I've reduced his cooldowns. So he has Rising Uppercut has been reduced to 75%, Rocket Punch has been reduced to 60%, and Seismic Slam 30%. Because by doing Rising Uppercut and Seismic Slam, it's going to be a good way for you to get around the map to try and attack all of those pesky special forces. So he does 500% damage, so simply taking a single hit from Doomfist will kill you. He takes 50% damage received, simply because characters in Overwatch do so much damage that it gets kind of difficult to kill someone. His health is only 175%. This is partially due to the shields that he can create when he jumps into combat. So that way he's not like this impenetrable wall of shields, because the core does not do very much damage to him, specifically. So everything else for him is pretty standard, so I did not increase his projectile speed, his movement speed, his gravity, or his jumping, and the rest of this is fine. I did turn off his gun, like his little 4 pew 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 wrist puncher, rocket shooter, shotgun thing, only because he's strong enough as it is, and getting clipped by this one random projectile feels kind of bad, especially since other Titans that I've seen, like the main big fights, didn't really shoot stuff constantly out of their wrists, like Spike from X-Men, so this is Doomfist. So, Orisa went through a lot of changes. It was really hard making her be balanced and still fun to play, mostly because her main weapon is a machine gun. So she mostly punches people, so she cannot use her machine gun. So if I scroll all the way down here, you can see it has been disabled. There's nothing I could do to make it more fair for someone to have a machine gun and just start running around shooting people. So, to that end, I did leave Fortify enabled. Cooldown is the same. She does have Halt. Now, Halt I did increase the cooldown of because you can basically just grab one of the random players that are trying to kill you, halt them, and then run up and punch them. So Halt makes it a little bit more fair, where you can like knock them off an edge or what have you. So because of this, she does 300% more damage, so that way she can punch people effectively. Her damage received is 75% less, and her health is 300%. So that's because she is so large and has such a giant hitbox that it's very easy to kill her. Especially because she does not, well, easy to kill her, I guess, in relation to Doomfist, just because she's not as threatening. Doomfist has such great mobility that he's very easy to get, it's very easy for him to get out of a bad situation, but Orisa just kind of, runs around, fortifies, and halts. But these skills can be used effectively, and it really does make her seem like a lumbering Titan, so I quite like it. Because she is so large and so slow, her jump vertical speed has been increased to 120% to allow her to jump up in the air a little bit faster. Her movement gravity is the same. Her movement speed is 115%, so it is a little bit faster, so that way she can, run around and not feel quite so incredibly slow. And the final one is, of course, Reinhardt. So Reinhardt does not have his barrier field. His charge cooldown has been reduced a little bit, and his fire strike cooldown has been increased, mostly because, again, projectiles don't really happen, but I didn't want to get rid of it because it's such a Reinhardt thing. So that's there just as an emergency kind of situation. And of course he has his ultimate as well. So his damage has been increased to 500%. The Reinhardt's health is in between Doomfist and Orisa's. So you can see here his health is 250%. So this is a good number for Reinhardt. All the Titans generally actually seem to last the same amount of time in terms of like how long they live. It just depends on the hero playing them, or the person playing them. Because if the person is, say, more confident with their skills, or they play the hero a bit more, then they tend to live longer than the other ones. So this variety of health pools is basically reflective of the champion or hero that you're playing. So again, Reinhardt is a little slow, so his movement gravity I did increase. Oh, that's interesting. So his movement gravity has been increased, which ended up working out really, really well for the game. Not sure why it's increased, but it is. So he's at 110%, so he can't jump as high. It's probably due to his hammer, just the additional reach that he has. And his movement speed has also been increased to 115%, and naturally all of his weapons are enabled. Which brings us now to the Marine Corps. So, Genji! Of course, you have to have Genji, like, he has the blade, he's got everything. So, for Genji, he has his deflect. His deflect cooldown is normal, so I did not decrease that at all. But his swift strike, I did decrease to 15%. So basically, your main choice of assaulting a Titan for this game mode is going to be swift strike. Now, the reason behind that is it's a high risk, high reward type deal. And also his shurikens have been disabled. This is because in Attack on Titan, if you have the blades, you're not gonna, let go of your two blades to start throwing shurikens at people. So to make it a more realistic representation, Genji does not have his shurikens, but he has a very reduced cooldown on swift strike. And of course, he also does have his dragon blade. So to this end, Genji does 150% more damage. He receives more damage, has normal health, a little bit extra just because the elite force of, like, an Attack on Titan, they could kind of take like a punch and still keep going. So this enables Genji to take one punch and keep fighting. Two will probably kill him though. His movement gravity has been reduced, so if you were to double jump and swift strike into the air, you have a few moments to take a look around and figure out what you want to do. So yeah, so you can use that to your advantage to kind of position, because they would normally use those grappling hooks on their belts to try and position themselves effectively, so having the lower gravity just makes it feel a bit better. And his movement speed is 250% to make it feel like it would were you to be grappling around by your belt. So yeah, Genji. Next up is Soldier 76. So Soldier 76 is there because he is one of the grunt troops in Attack on Titan. He is not particularly skilled. He has his uses, but he's definitely not as strong as the elites or some of the other characters in there. So to that end, his biotic field is disabled, his helix rockets are disabled. He still has his sprint because, I'm sure these people are probably in pretty good physical conditioning. And it does not have his tactical visor because that is simply not something they have. So his damage dealt is 50%. So he doesn't do an awful lot of damage, but he does hit them, it does hurt a little bit. And eventually, say if you have an army of soldiers, they can take down Titan. His damage received, his health, and everything else is normal because his health is only 80%, so he is quite weak compared to the other heroes. His movement speed is 120%, so this allows him generally to run away from a Titan unless they use one of their special abilities, in which case he's kind of boned. So yeah, his primary fire obviously is enabled. I did not change his ammunition clips, and yeah, so it actually was kind of funny. I had a few games where Soldier actually ended up living the longest, like in an elimination style, simply because he was really effective at getting to higher ground and using his sprint to get away from the Titans. So even though this character is a little bit weaker than some of the other ones, it can actually still work out pretty well as long as you are comfortable with Soldier. We also have Tracer. So Tracer is another version of one of the elite soldiers. But again, not all technology was there, so in order to kind of calm Tracer down a bit from going crazy with her blinks, I did increase the blink and recall cooldown time to 125%. So this just means you can't just be like zipping around the map, shooting people all willy-nilly. You actually have to think a little bit about your movement, getting in, getting out, kind of thing. And of course she does have her ultimate ability, Pulse Bomb. Her damage dealt is 50%, so this is because she just does so much damage by unloading a clip into like the back of someone's head. So her damage has been reduced to 50%. It didn't really reduce her health, simply because she's so squishy that a normal hit from like a Reinhardt will two-shot her anyway, and all the Titans have increased damage, so she dies in one hit. I increased her base movement speed to 250%, so that way, again, similar to Genji, she can run in, because she's supposed to be one of the elite soldiers, she can run in, kind of shoot, and use her blinks to get out. So they're meant to be more of a disengage rather than an engage. So those are her version to having those grappling hook belts. So she's more of a ground assault troop, whereas Genji is an aerial assault troop. Yes. Alright. And I did increase her ammunition clip, just because it feels a little bit better. We tried it with just the normal, but you run out of ammo so quickly that you're kind of like, I shoot a little bit there and away, I shoot a little bit there and away. So this allows you to weigh your decisions a bit better. So having the additional size for your ammo clip makes it be like, oh, am I going to stay and try and fill like this entire clip into this Titan, or do I have to retreat? So it gives you a bit more agency as the player. And finally, we have Widowmaker, so an elite sniper. So Widowmaker has no cooldown on her grappling hook, because she is the only one who actually has a grappling hook. So she has no cooldown on it, so you can basically be Spider-Man if you want, but not recommended, because if you miss, you'll fall down into a hole and die. She does have her Venom Mine. It doesn't do an awful lot of damage, but it is there, just in case. And everything else of hers is enabled. So her damage dealt is 40%. So this is because if you snipe and it takes up to 4, it does a ridiculous amount of damage. So even with a full health Titan, if she was at 100%, it destroys them pretty quickly. So 40% was a pretty fair amount where she needs to, you know, hit them successively, constantly throughout the entire game to be able to kill them. But if you watch some of the highlights from the Attack on Titan mode, you can see like being shot by Widow, like it chunks down your health pretty hard. So she takes increased damage. Her health is 50%. Again, elite sniper, not supposed to get hit. If she gets hit, she's down. Her movement gravity is 75%. So this is for when you do that fabulous Widow thing where you grappling hook your way up into the sky and then you try and get like a headshot from the air. Yeah, so now it's a bit easier to do that just because she is so squishy that you ideally want to be in the air away from these Titans. So this is just to help her feel more like a fully rounded out character. Her movement speed is a little bit slower than the others, so she's in between Soldier and the elite soldiers. So she's at 150%, but again it's due to her grappling hook, which increases her speed quite a bit. So naturally her primary fire is enabled. I did disable her machine gun because she is supposed to be just like, you don't want to be in machine gun range. So sniping or nothing. So yeah. And then for maps, for Assault, I left everything on. Assault, we actually found it was interesting. It was almost better for when the Titans were attacking and the heroes were defending. Mostly because then you have a faster respawn. And it's a bit easier to kill the Titans and hold them off on the final point than it is to be a hero and have to run all the way back to kill the Titans who can respawn really fast. But it was a nice change of pace, so I would recommend giving Assault a whirl. For elimination, I basically just stuck with the smaller maps, only because the larger ones, it's hard to not only hit people but also to get away from them. So the new elimination maps have a good size for everyone to be able to hit each other and everyone also to be able to use their abilities to get away from each other. So just the elimination maps. And for escort, it was kind of odd, so it still requires a bit more testing for the escort mode. So whenever I happen to get around to doing that, I will post another video to see how escort works and which maps will be the best. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!